Hello and welcome to another Flutter original show. This time I have three guests who have built a very interesting game with Flutter. So we're going to dig into this game, Landover, and figure out what it is, how they build it, and learn from their experience. Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Nice.
thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for joining me. So let's have a round of introduction. Maybe first, starting from Jay at the bottom. Let's go.
Yeah. Hi, guys. I'm Jay. I'm the founder of Landover. Before Landover, I was also the co-founder at chess.com, and I'm just excited to be here.
Juan.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Juan. I'm an engineer at Very Good Ventures. So, hey, excited to be here.
Janko.
Hey, I'm Janko. I'm from Serbia. I'm working on Landover last 2 years and working as developer previously for 6 or 7 years. So yeah, that's a little about me.
All right, exciting. Thank you very much. So many of the probably people who are watching this video, they do not know about Landover. I myself recognized it like just a few weeks ago in one of my social media interaction with folks in the Flutter community. So maybe one of you tell us, what is this Landover and when have you started building this and where are you with this project right now?
Yeah. So about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, I got the idea that I wanted to build a better Catan for mobile. And I was a big Catan fan for many, many years. I have a extensive background in gaming. Grew up playing all kinds of board games. Was chess club president in college, and was a StarCraft esports gamer. So I basically played all types of games. Catan was always one of my favorite kind of casual games. And there was some good places online to play. But as technology changed over the years and Flash kind of died and Java kind of died, Java applets, it became apparent that there wasn't really any good places to play Catan anymore. And so this idea was born that I wanted to create a really good mobile app for Catan that I could play with my friends and family anytime, anywhere from my mobile phone. And so I started looking at different technologies, came across Flutter as a good alternative to React Native that could be a cross-platform technology. And so I started looking for developers that had some Flutter experience that were excited about building a Catan mobile game. And we're about a little over 2 years, I think, into the process of actually development. So it's taken us a long time to get here, but I'm excited about the product that we have now. And we've got, a pretty passionate user following, a Discord community, and we'll just keep working on new features and trying to make the product amazing. And so we start to transition into more of a marketing phase, which is why, you've probably recently heard about us, because we're finally starting to put the word out there with some Reddit posts and some outreach and engagement, running some ads and things like that. But yeah, it's basically it's a flavor of Catan. It's inspired by Catan. It's not exactly Catan. We try to make some changes. I like to use the analogy that Magic the Gathering was kind of the inspiration behind Hearthstone, and this is very much the same thing. We took Catan as the base idea of the game, and tried to make some spin-off on it to make it faster, more fun, easier to learn, and just a little bit more enjoyable.
Okay, that sounds interesting. So may I ask you, like, how many of you are working on this project right now? Is it like one, three of you, or more than that?
Yeah, so we all wear a lot of different hats. We're a small startup. So right now I do all of the kind of ticket product specking, and just kind of long-term vision. I do all the funding behind the project. And we've got currently 2 full-time developers, 1 part-time developer, a designer. Our team fluctuates kind of as our ticket list grows and shrinks over time. So for example, Juan was full-time on the project for a long time, and now he's kind of more of an advisor helper on the project because he knows a lot about the code, but he's currently working on different projects. So developers will kind of join and rejoin the project on an as-needed basis. And so right now we kind of only have need for about 2.5 developers, but as the holiday season is coming around and more people are starting to join the game, I'm kind of finding myself drowning in tickets again. So
Interesting. So let's actually go and have an overview of the game first, because
Great.
I know we're talking right now probably out of the context, so people don't know what we're talking about. Let's just go over the
Sure.
game and just show us what you have built.
Sure, no problem. Okay, so there's a lot of different auxiliary features here. I mean, we have a ranking system where you can get promoted over time and try to earn your way up to the different tiers and classes. It's very much League of Legends inspired. It works kind of the same way. We have a season competition of leaderboards where people can kind of just earn seasonal points for playing, and these seasons run for the course of one particular quarter. So this is the autumn season for 2023. We'll have 10 days left in the season. So these players are all battling it out for different awards for the end of the season. You've got tutorial games that you can play through, read the rules, video tutorials, all this kind of good stuff. We've got theming where you can choose your different building types, different color default selections that you could do. So players like to kind of theme their buildings differently. We have a map builder, which is very unique to Catan games. Most Catan games do not have the ability to create custom user maps. And so here you can see that users are allowed to go through. These are almost all user-created maps. People get very creative on different types of maps they create. I can go through and actually create a new map, and this just allows you to easily and quickly like throw down some tiles and actually build your own map. So people love to play around with this, come up with new ideas. Every map creates a unique gameplay. So it's nice not to just be stuck playing the same, generic maps time and time again. So people love the map builder feature. It's one of our biggest advantages over the other Catan variants that are out there. And then we've also got these kind of achievement awards that you can earn as you're playing games. So this is kind of something that people just kind of strive to do within the game. They're like small little mini achievements within the game. So now to get to the game itself, one of the biggest benefits of Landover versus Catan is we have what's called daily formats or turn-based games. So I can actually play lots of games all at the same time. So here you can see I'm currently in 5 different games with various friends and family. Some of these people are just random opponents from the Landover community. The reason why we're able to do this is we made some rule changes to Catan so that there are no response mechanics. So when it's my turn, nobody else is doing anything. So it's a play and pass format. If you're similar to a game called Words with Friends, it's the same idea where I just take my turn and then it pings them via some, like a mobile notification when it's their turn to go. So I'll open up one of these games and you can kind of see what the interface looks like. Go to one that's kind of busy. So here you can see I'm in a game against Jenny and Mary. This is actually a ranked game, so we're playing for ranked standing and points. I'm the red player here. So these are all of my cities and villages and all different tiles that I've kind of settled on. You can see that Mary and Jenny are blue and purple. Over here, we have our player tiles, and it shows how many victory points they've all got. You can see I've got 16 victory points, so I'm 1 victory point away from winning the game. I'm waiting for my turn right now, so it's currently Jenny's turn. So this is a turn-based daily format. So it means that she has, right down here, you can see she has 64 hours to finish her turn. So usually it's between 1 and 3 days that the user has to finish their turn. Once she's done, it'll ping me that it's my turn to go, and hopefully on the next turn, I will roll some good dice, get some resources, and win the game. So that's what that looks like. I'll also quickly step you through. For players that are new to the game, they can just come in, they can choose any map they want. This is a kind of starter map, so we'll just throw this up. You can select how much time per turn you have, and I'll go ahead and just create this game, make it private so no users join me right now. And then we've got this cool bot selection. Juan did a lot of work with bots. Janko did a lot of work with bots. We came up with all these different bot personalities that kind of have different play styles and different levels of intelligence. And so for a beginner, they could just add some beginner bots to their game. You could play against one bot. You could play against lots of bots. I can throw in like, Genghis Khan into my game, who's a very attack-minded bot. And I'll throw in, oops, I locked that spot. And then I'll throw in a more scientific Einstein here into my game. So here we've got Einstein, Genghis Khan, and a beginner bot called QWERTY. You can see you can play up to 8 players, so I can open up these spots as well. People love the fact that we support up to 8 players when they want to play with a lot of friends. Anyhow, I'll go ahead and start the game.
But that's impressive. So while you are showing, the game right now, so I'd like to maybe ask a few technical questions here. So where is
Yeah,
more probably
I'll go
interesting.
ahead. Yeah, exactly. Sorry to interrupt. I'll keep building, and then Yanko and Juan can kind of answer the more technical questions.
No problem. So first thing first, now what we are seeing right now, this is Flutter, right? Like it's built in Flutter. I would like to know, right, what kind of technology you've, like what kind of like technology behind this Flutter app existed? Like maybe a high level architecture. How did you build this very nice, facing application? And by the way, is this a desktop application or is it like mobile, desktop, web? Like
It's
what kind of platforms?
we only support 3 right now. We support web, iOS, and Android. We have not made this for desktop yet.
Sounds good. Yeah. Okay. Maybe a like high level architecture on the app. Like what kind of technology you're using for that?
Yanko, go ahead.
So yeah. Basically, this is all basic Flutter. We don't use any additional framework. So it's basic Flutter. We are using we on begin in the beginning we had our version of the block for the state management system, but then recently we moved towards some official Flutter block version of block for the states management. Important part of our architecture is a backend, which is on Google Stack also. So we are using the Flutter function heavily for the Landover. For the front end, I cannot say many about the architecture because it's our own. Everything is our own basic Flutter, so there is no much to say here. Basically, it's good. It looks nice because we have good designers, and so we have good assets to work with. So that's the main reason why it look so good. So yeah.
Yeah, that's actually this is something that made me so excited. Like the graphic is so nice in this context. Because
Yeah.
like we build 2D games, let's say with Flutter, and many of them, when you look at it, it's really not quite advanced. Let's say maybe the graphic is not advanced, but this looks like a way ahead of many Flutter games that I've seen so far. So I wondered, like many of the things that we see on the screen, they are like static assets, like images, or are you like using any kind of trick to create custom things or paint on the canvas or whatever? Generally, how do you manage these nice, assets?
Yeah, for the most part, it's the static assets. We are not drawing by itself many things. Everything you see on this screen, I think, is static assets. Beside the right panel, right panel is the custom because we have a lot of data showed here. But the board is the static assets for the different resources, clay, weeds, everything is static there. Also building are the statics. There is dynamic components of it, but for most part is static. For example, color. For the color, we are using stack to make different colors of it. So yeah.
So I see also you're using a lot of animations here.
Yeah.
How is your experience with animation with these so many things happening right now on the screen? So it looks pretty smooth, to be honest.
Yeah, it was very challenging for the year, and maybe more than that, we have a lot of issues with animation. It hurts our performances. It hurts our battery, but it was mainly due to our faults. We are trying to rebuild the whole map and the whole board all the same time, and that is expensive. After we found what was the reason behind slow animation and battery, we found some solutions to not some, but we found solution to draw only the things that we need to redraw at every frame. So now it's a lot better. There is things that we can improve definitely in the future, but it's quite smooth right now. Especially this game board screen. Other screens we didn't have time to update now to be super performant, but this screen is quite good now. It's better on mobile, of course. Web is still laggy for some parts, but on mobile it's better. It's smooth.
Interesting. So I see, a lot of people, like when they want to start building let's say game with Flutter, they think that there is like a initial step, and by the push of community and a lot of things that is happening right now in Flutter community, that many people think they need to start using a framework or like a library, let's say, not a framework. For example, Flame, right?
Yeah.
But you prove that it doesn't need to be that way. So I wonder, like, what was your experience in that way? Like, why didn't you use any library on top of it? Maybe they could solve some of your initial problems.
Yes, Flame is super cool package, but when we started it, they just started building it, so it wasn't super useful as it is now. Because that's part of the answer, and the second part of the answer is that even if we start today to build the app, I'm not sure that we will choose Flame, because the Flame is better maybe when you have some actions on every frame and you want to build every frame something new. But for this type of the game, turn-based game, we don't really have some benefits of the Flame. Of course, there is some things that would be useful for us, like sounds management and things like that. But it's a complete solution right now for the games. But we probably wouldn't choose Flame right now either. So yeah.
Yeah, mind if I hop in a second on that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, actually, if you take a look at Landover itself, you can see, like, for the most part, it behaves mostly like an app than a game. So that's when you can see, like, really doesn't need like any kind of game dev engine, like Flame, for example, and where Flutter really shines. Because if you take a look at it, like, there's a lot of models and buttons and interactions that are very app-like instead of game-like. So yeah, we don't really need stuff like coordinates and physics and such. We just need like display information, receive interaction with players, and all the rest is just like basic, like nice design and very minor animations, like you said, like the building animation and the moving, flying stuff. If we did use a game engine like Flame, it will be like very focused, like maybe on the game board itself.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I don't really think we need anything like that.
Yeah, that's probably the number one question I get when people ask me, like, why'd you choose Flutter? I mean, even Flutter developers will ask me, because I go to hire people and they're like, well, why'd you use Flutter? Like, why did you not use Unity or some other?
That's another question I wanted to ask.
Yeah, and it's a good question. I can't say I have a lot of experience with Unity, so I'm probably not the best person to answer that question. But all I knew is, look, pricing was a big point, cost was a big point for me. I think that if I look at the overall cost of the project, to do it in Unity would be more expensive, probably be a little bit slower, and also the cost to use Unity is a real concern for me, whereas Flutter is free to use. So that was a big component, and the other big component, like Juan was talking about, is the fact that we're not a true AAA game with crazy animations and all kinds of first-person shooter type stuff going on, or we don't have Hearthstone level animations and graphics. It's a very simple 2D board. I think most people that are playing Catan are looking for a good functional game experience, a clear gaming experience, a clean UI, something that's very easy to understand. But I don't think a lot of people that walk into playing Catan are super excited about seeing like big explosions or anything like that. So my main focus was on a very clean UI, a very good game, good mechanics, good flow, and all those kinds of things. I think that can be done really well with Flutter.
Absolutely. I think I agree with that. But last 2 years and a half, I think you mentioned building this application or this game. First of all, the result is amazing. I mean, I do love it, and I think I'm just gonna go and give it a try again and play, because I also like board game stuff. So it looks like that, and I really like that. So
it didn't look like this 2 years ago. Let me just say, like, it took us a long time to get here. Like, just let me point out a few things, like even doing the little white borders around roads, the little black shadowing under buildings. A very complex piece of Catan that people don't understand is, one is, how are we going to fit all of this onto a tiny mobile screen? That was a big challenge for us, because Catan's a complex game. It's not like we're playing Flappy Bird, right? So
Yep.
we have a lot of things to display on a very small amount of real estate. And then on top of that, you have lots of colors. You've got player colors, and you've got tile colors, and you've got different textures you're trying to show. And as you can see here, like, our buildings and our villages actually stand out quite well on the board. But you've got reds and purples and blues and oranges on top of greens and grays and, you know, yellows. And so getting the coloring right, the texturing right, the shadowing right, I mean, all those things, it's a very difficult, like, UI problem to solve. And we didn't get this on version 1 or even version 2. It was like iterate and iterate and iterate. And the number of times we've changed the layout, where to put the players' cards, where to put their culture, how to arrange the player tiles. Is it too much information? Is it not enough information? You know, for a beginner to walk into this board, they'd be like, whoa, like, information overload. There's too much going on. So we had to tone down the amount of stuff we were showing. But then the experts are like, we want more information all at the same time. So, you know, it's definitely been a lot of iterating to get to this point. And I think we are finally very close to what I would say is like a very good product. And so I appreciate that you like it, but just also understand that it took us a long time to get here. And it was.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I can understand that. So, and the reason I said this is because I wanted to ask how Flutter in these complex UI challenges helped you. Like, did you find it painful a lot, or it was like actually pleasant? Oh, it's a complex UI, challenge, as you said. But I wonder, like, Flutter helped you in this case to make it like such a nice UI as you do right now, or it wasn't the case? Like, if you want to go back to 2.5 years ago and you had this experience with Flutter today, would you choose again Flutter to build this game?
I will say, from my own point of view as a product guy, there's been frustrating times for me, because there's many times where I'm like, I want to just blink something to the user. I want something to flash, and I want this, like, hey, the user needs to know it's their turn to roll, or the user needs to know, like, hey, there's a spot here where they can build, or, you know, I want to highlight certain things. Like, even one thing that we've gone through many times on this UI is, how do we designate and make it obvious whose turn it is to move? And as you can see right now, like, it's my turn to move, but is it super obvious? Like, I've got a different background color. I've got a slight border around my player tile. But it's not maybe as obvious as I would like. I might want like a little red, like, kind of blur or flash behind my player tile, which we actually have tried in the past. But just having that little blur or blink has caused phone heating issues, or battery life issues, or, you know, slow response on older devices. And so I think sometimes what I think is going to be a simple request from a product point of view ends up being a very difficult request from a Flutter point of view. It's like, that's going to be too expensive from a Flutter point of view. And so that's my perspective of it, is that sometimes what I think is very simple, and like, I'll compare it to another game. I'm like, wait, but in PUBG, I can run around a giant map and shoot people from miles away with a AR-15 and, you know, like, on a mobile phone. And I'm asking for a blur or a blink, and it's too expensive for the phone to do. So there's sometimes I can't quite understand why, like, there's very complex mobile phone games that are doing crazy animations, and they seem to handle it okay. And then when I try to do something or request something that's very simple, it's like Flutter cannot do that very well. And there's also the issue of, if we do it, it might work for example, let me show you this example. I will pull up the tutorial, which we just recently redid. we did some very cool things with the tutorial. So now you can see we've actually darkened the screen behind us. And as I step through the tutorial coach on web, we're unable to actually show like, if you pull this up on mobile, it'll actually highlight the tiles and the areas on the screen that we're trying to highlight. But we're having issues on the web version of actually doing that same highlight. So now we've gone to arrows instead. But as you can see, this arrow is much less impressive, less beautiful than actually if we were to highlight the areas on the screen. So there's many times where it works on mobile, but we can't get it to work on web. And I think that's been one of the biggest struggles, is that the web version or the web experience for our game is several tiers below what it actually is on a mobile phone. So as good as it looks on web, if you pull it up on your phone, it looks even prettier, it looks better. So this is just one example of a current kind of tech hurdle that we've been struggling with when it comes to our tutorial.
But that brings me to another question, though. How up to date are you with the Flutter version? So, like, are you using the latest? Are you trying to keep yourself up to date, as much as possible, or how do you manage these upgrades? Let's say.
Yeah, we are trying to be on the latest version all the time. Now we are not currently on the latest, but because we had some important updates. But next week probably, or in 2 weeks, we will update. So we are updating it, and actually one of the updates bring us a big issue with app on the iOS. With when they release the new rendering system, rendering engine on the iOS, it make our app very slow only on the iOS. So we had to revert and not use that engine and use the older one. So yeah, sometimes updates are not good, but for the
Interesting to hear, because I mean
yeah
the purpose of Impeller was
yeah yeah
performance, janky, frames and all those kind of things.
yes
It could be like a very interesting use case for Flutter team to take a look at your app, see why
yeah
it's slowing down.
we reported to one member of the one very important game developer on the Flutter. I'm not sure what's the name of that team, but they told us they run into the same issue or similar issues, and we wanted to report to the Flutter team, but it's very hard to make the example app that will break on the
Yeah.
same with the same thing, because our app is very complex right now in the moment, and we cannot make some example because I don't know what breaks the impeller. Something is breaking it, but not sure what. So yeah, we will do that maybe in the future, but for now, maybe they fix that in the newest version. So we will
Yeah,
try.
probably.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. I guess with the new WASM stuff that is happening also to the web, Flutter web, hopefully that will speed up or make some improvement into your Flutter web application. Have you
Yeah.
tried the latest edition, by the way? Any compiling to WASM to see if it helps?
No, actually, for the web, it's most for the good part. Except that laggy feeling that you get, and I don't believe that will be much better. For now, maybe it wasn't, but we will try it. But what I wanted to add is one thing on the Flutter is on using Flutter is that you're using a lot of packages, and with packages you can get various issues. For example, that issue that Jay mentioned, on web we don't have the those dots or anything
Yeah.
in the tutorial. It's probably because of the package that we are using for the web to be as beautiful as on mobile in terms of dimensions. So we are using the Flutter responsive packages or package,
Yeah.
something like that. And it probably is, it is probably due to that package that we didn't made that that on the web, that feature. So, but yeah, there is a path to that also, but it was not a priority right now.
Yanko, did you want to talk at all more about the kind of the blur, the animation issues that we've kind of had to get rid of because they were too expensive, or is it just kind of a known thing?
Yeah, I can address that. That's the that was mainly because of our architecture and our game board. Because, as I said previously, we were rebuilding or repainting everything on every single frame, and that was expensive. And when you have the animation in any part of the app, you need to not need, but we in that moment we were rebuilding and repainting whole screen, and we should repaint only that part that has animation. So now in this moment we were in much better place to have animation
Okay.
than now. For example, we have some new animation that we added a month or two ago, and that didn't bring us any issue, like resource animation or commodity animation
Yeah.
or shading. That didn't bring any new issues because we are now in much better place.
Yeah, it's funny. There's little subtle things that make such a like the only animations that I try to do in Landover are to increase the user experience in a very significant way. There's no meaningless animation. So for example, there's one animation going on right now, which is this flashing road, this flashing bridge is telling me like, hey, here's two places you can build. Without that animation, the user's kind of confused, like, what are my options, right? But the more important one that Yanko's referring to that we added within the last few months is when I rolled this little card just slid down into my hand. That showing a user that, hey, you've got new resources to spend and actually showing them that the resources slide into your hand is in this right here. You can see this card just slid it into my hand over here. Those are very important because we would get reports that I didn't even know I had new resources to spend. And so if you don't animate and show the user like, hey, you've got something new here, they don't see it and they don't realize that there's an actual opportunity there in the game. So I like to say that we are very mindful of the animations that we do add to the game to make sure that they are necessary and actually improve the user experience.
Yeah, interesting. So maybe that brings me to another, or maybe my last question. So as you said, in the last 2 years or 2.5 years, the complexity, like the app that you built, grow, and right now it's super complex. I wonder if you learned anything here that you want to actually share with us as Flutter developers. When we start an app, let's say this app, we know in the beginning it's not that complex, but over the time it becomes complex. How do you manage this complexity right now? What
Yeah.
kind of like strategies do you have?
Yeah, maybe Juan also can say after me something about this. But for me, it the main thing is that you need to create a good architecture from the start, and know from the start what you want to build, and create architecture related to that. So our architecture was bad on the start. It was all over the place. Our code was all over the place, and state management, and we didn't have good solutions for that. So create a good architecture from start. That may take some time, but it will save you a lot of the time in the future. That's main thing. And don't try to create a block implementation by yourself. Use some good package. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the main thing. Yeah, go on, Juan.
No, yeah, definitely. I feel like at the beginning, like making a solid architecture like feels very expensive. So like you start very slow, and you want to like go fast and add new features and stuff and go all over the place. In the long run, that turns out to be super expensive because we go to a point where like every single change will take 5 times the amount of time it should take. Like it will change one small thing, one screen, and it will take like how to fix things that weren't completely written at all. So yeah, we had to like refactor some stuff. The whole lobby itself, for example, was redone from the ground up a couple months ago. And I feel like that was like a super useful investment because right now, it's like if you need to change something in there, it's like it makes it super like much cheaper.
Whoa. I didn't want to interrupt you guys, but I just found a live game within like 1 second of joining the queue. That's pretty amazing. Anyway, this is our live ranked queue. You can see another animation here for people to click ready up to make sure everybody's ready. We have animation for the map. Juan has done a lot of work on our lobbies. So I was just going to show an example of a lobby screen. You can see here, this is our lobby screen, all the different players. You saw it earlier too when I created a game, but this is actually pretty complex to make sure that it's recent and updated and all, showing all the latest information. So done a lot of work on lobbies.
Super interesting. I'm super impressive for sure. If anyone wants to like try this out, is it online right now? How can they access the game?
Yeah, it's just landover.io. That's our website address. Very easy to remember, landover.io. You can search Landover in the App Store or the Google Play Store, or we should come up #1 for the Landover search. So you can either go to our website, download the app from there, try the web browser version of it, or download the app.
Okay, awesome. So maybe for the last words, each of you, tell us something that you would like to share in the last 2 years you experienced in Landover, especially for Flutter developers, let's say, and you want to share with us. Maybe that can help us in the future to speed up, to improve, I don't know, to avoid or whatever. So what last things would be for you?
I'll go first. I'm not a Flutter developer, but I am a developer. I was the CTO at chess.com for 12 years. So my background is in computer science. I know what it's like to be a developer. I know what it's like to be in the weeds of building something. My 2 cents that I would give to any developer is that do it as long as you can, because once you stop writing code, you will probably never write code again. I stopped writing code a few years ago, and people warned me that once you kind of become a manager and start managing people and stop writing code, it's very hard to get back into it. I miss it. I wish I still wrote code. I admire and am jealous of the guys that still get to write code, solve problems. But when you're in the weeds of building something, it can be, you can forget the end result, but the end result is usually about the user experience, right? And so it's nice to keep that in perspective as you're writing code, of like, put yourselves in the shoes of the developer, the shoes of the user, and try to figure out, like, if I was a user, how would I expect this to work? And please always, always, always do your own testing. Like, I can't stress enough, developers sometimes rely on the QA team to like fix and find all of their issues. I think it's great practice as a developer to always try every edge case, try to break your own code, try to pretend like you're a user and do all the dumb things that you never think a user's going to do. So those are my kind of years of experience of developing, is like, users will do things that you just never expect them to do. So enjoy it while you can, write code as long as you can. And, that's kind of my advice to any Flutter developer that's out there.
Oh, thank you. I will definitely second the first part of your advice, where if you can code. Otherwise, because recently I'm also stepping into some kind of managerial position, and it's very hard to get back to building and coding every day, definitely. Mm-hmm. And then interesting, you mentioned about testing. I would like to also highlight this one more time. You mentioned that test yourself. I'm going to actually publish a book very soon in January called Flutter Engineering. One part of the book, the first part, I'm going through one of the concepts of software engineering called shifting left, probably very familiar to many engineers. So I mapped it to Flutter, let's say for Flutter developers somehow. I think this is what you said about testing yourself rather just waiting for Q&A later, or maybe later even in a staging. that actually map the shifting left mindset in engineering part. So that the sooner the more actually we shift to the left part of the diagram, let's say, or the chart, we test ourselves, we figure out the stuff, the easier to fix, to deploy, or to whatever. It's going to be less expensive in the future. Two advice you gave to me, so which I can resonate right away, and a super nice one. Juan,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, I also just to piggyback on that is I kind of require my developers like, hey guys, I want you to actually eat your own dog food. So play Landover, play some games, create some games, like go, pretend you're actually using the product, because if you never use the product, you can't sympathize with the pain the users are going through. So
absolutely. Juan.
To be honest, because it's from the very game dev perspective, take advantage of like Flutter code reload and stuff. Like allows you to like iterate really fast on the UI and such. So it allows you like to experiment a bit and go on your own. You can think as a player itself. So once you finish the feature, you can take like maybe like half an hour to like improvise a bit and go ahead and experiment a bunch. Many of Flutter's Landover's animations came to life because like Django and I and other developers were like, oh, maybe I can add this like very specific thing to the app. It would nice, and show it to Shay, and she will love it. For example, Shay, maybe you can show like that ranked animation. Remember the end game screen?
Oh yes, I will try to win really quickly. Let me see.
You can go to.
Oh, you want me to surrender?
No, you go to your history in a run game.
Oh, okay. Got you. Yes. Okay.
For example, those are like we have like a very static design of how it should look. That bottom of the it was like a very static design of like, hey, it's like wood 1 plus 18 and arrow up. And it took me like 20 minutes to implement that, thanks to hot reload. So like
it's one of the best feelings when you play this game too. When you finish a game and you see your ranking points actually ticking up and animating up, it's like, oh, it feels so good. I just earned all these points. If it was just static and just appeared, you miss that feeling a little bit. So there's little things like that Juan's talking about that he added, where it's like, oh, that's such a cool feature. Like people love that feeling now.
Yeah. So like go ahead, experiment. It's a game. Like it's supposed to be fun. Maybe have a little bit of fun like while developing it. So yeah, those like very tiny stuff end up like going the long way. Definitely.
Interesting, and thank you. Please, Janko.
As I said, plan your project good, plan architecture, and what I want to add is be part of the be up to date to the Flutter, because Flutter has a lot of updates always. They are trying to improve their projects, so be up to date, be part of the community, try to help the Flutter community by creating your some package of yours, or create a PR to solve some problem in a Flutter repo. We did that also while doing Landover. So try not to be only Flutter developer, but software engineer. So that will help you a lot in life. So yeah.
Awesome advices. Thank you very much, three of you. I will put all the links related to your social media if I found them. Also, the Landover website to the description wherever I post this, video and audio. And hopefully, people will reach out to you and maybe ask more questions, and maybe you will get more players soon on your game. But then, thank you very much for today. And I wish you a very pleasant day, night, wherever you are, and see you next time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.